Hi folks, welcome back to Making It Metan. I'm Mike Borelli, and thank you for joining us on what is now our third episode of Making It Metan. I join you here in a shop in Lakeville on this beautiful Saturday morning. Yes, Saturday, I'm here with my real good friend Kevin, finishing up on the wiring rigging to this 1996 Regulator 23 Metan refit. Kevin's a 35-year friend of mine, one of my longtime secret weapons who have contributed their skills and their craftsmanship greatly on many of the vessels on their road to making them Metan. Today we're on a home stretch of our Metan Regulator refit, which I can assure you will be profiled on one of our upcoming episodes. But for now, let's take a break from this regulator and let's do a short catch-up on where we left off on our last episode with the Boston Whaler 420 Outrage. For a full update, jump on Metan's YouTube channel for both episodes 1 and 2. And please, if you think of it, subscribe to our channel. And remember to continue to follow us on our Instagram page, where we continue to update you on current projects such as this 23 regulator. We left off with our huge repairs to our starboard side completed, in high build, ready for final coating. However, this boat didn't come off its boat lift, float down a river 2.5 miles, come up in someone's backyard with damage only to the starboard side of the boat, which leads us to the port side of the boat. As you can see, although no pylons tried to punch their way through the hull, the port side had its fair share of scars and bruises. It sustained substantial, heavy cosmetic damage throughout all of its surfaces, as well as wiping out those glass ports and most of its rub rail. The bottom also sustained a good amount of heavy cosmetic damage, all needing to be repaired so we can catch these surfaces up with the starboard side. This would entail completing the fiberglass repairs and bodywork, just as we did over on the starboard side, without any body-size holes in it. The crew teamed up and had what we call a bit of a grind fest. They needed to grind out each area of the damaged areas throughout the port side and the bottom surfaces. They then mapped out their laminating schedule. They basically went around to each one of these areas, made themselves little transparent templates of each ground out area. They then cut multiple layers of a combination 1708 and 1 ounce mat, tapered cut individually to each repair area. When there's multiple areas like this, what we like to do is in fact tape the laminate right in place. This ensures two things. Number one, we don't forget any grindouts. Number two, it gives the guys the opportunity to lay the fiberglass in place to ensure that they have enough layers built up and they get their lamination as close as being a full fiberglass repair. Again, we like to talk about in our last episode, leaving as little fairing work as possible. After a pretty detailed lamination of all these individual spots, Joe came in and ground and sand down the glass work in preparation of moving on to the fairing. Although this side did not have any large holes, most of the damage sustained was on like the hard edges, the chines, the lifting strakes, as well as that outer step detail of the hull. This meant an awful lot of detail fairing, making sure all the edges were perfect. And that could only be accomplished by going through all the steps. From fairing, high build, back to fairing, and in some cases, another application of high build, just to make sure every line was perfect before we begin our final coating process. Well, we got to give credit where credit is due, and that credit needs to go to Joe. While Keith and Scott were doing their magic on the starboard side, Joe equally did the same on the port side. It's the end of the day, it's quiet. It's the best time of day. The guys have been sanding, grinding all day, yesterday, last week. Joey made tremendous strides on the port side. All of his repair spots that were fiberglass are all mowed down, ground down. You know, he's got his application of Farron compound, 3M premium filler, all dyed out, ready to jump in here tomorrow morning and just continue on. Final blocking, getting all his edging right, but he's doing a phenomenal job. We'd really like to see this all set, every repair area ready for ultra high build Duratec in the next couple of days. Although Joey's has his handful over here, you know, the big repairs over on the other side and between Scotty and Keith, and they're really knocking on the door. I mean, we're that close. We're that close to getting it on, you know, getting it in ultra high build. It's a big thing for us because that means we're confident enough that we have our lines close enough that we can get a product on them and dial, fine line, dial everything in. But by the looks of things over there, they just did a phenomenal job. It's been a joint effort. So if we can get that done in the next few days, we're going to be pretty happy, and that's a big milestone for us because now we're getting ready for the finish and we're getting ready for the gel coat. We're going to continue to get the hull ready for the paint. And you know, the inside's all done. We're ready to put that back together. So let's catch up on the other side. You'll see what I'm talking about in the lines, and wait till you see the effort that's been done over there. Just unbelievable. Really proud of them. After all this magic, we were now able to begin the process of truly making these surfaces beautiful again. And that's going to start with getting the repairs that need to be finished in gel coat. In fact, gel coated, sanded, wet sanded, buffed, and polished. And you'll see how we did that when we return to Making It Metan. So stay tuned. Welcome back, and after months of repair on this 420, it's finally ready for the coating stage of making it beautiful again. And in this case, making it even more beautiful than it ever has been. With one of the most awesome all-grip paint jobs you're ever gonna see. Well, not really, we kind of say that after every one of our paint jobs, but this one was kind of special. Scotty and I painted it together, and it was done over an 18-hour period. However, before we were able to get to the paint stage, we needed to get the repair areas that were being finished in gel coat. In fact, gel coated, sanded, wet sanded, buffed, and polished. The first thing the men did was give the surface of the entire boat a major wash down. We'll be doing much more intense cleaning when we transform our fiberglass shop into the paint booth in preparation of our paint phase. But that's a whole different type of cleaning. After both the boat and the surrounding areas were cleaned up, the crew needed to go in and mask around the repair areas. We didn't want to get our gel coat overspray on surfaces that were all ready for final primer. Now that that was complete, we were ready to begin getting gel coat on this boat. And that begins with the mixing and matching of the color. Now you'd think that's not a big deal. You get on the phone with a gel coat company or Boston Whaler and say, hey, send us down a few gallons of gel coat for 2016 420. Well, you can do that and you'll get the gel coat. But let me tell you something, it'll never match. It'll be close, in some cases, not even close. So we have to take the time, tweak our colors. And for that, we call in Van Boezelstein. This is a lost talent in the industry. Having the knowledge to know what colors to add to make your color perfect. To do this, it takes time, and sometimes, so much time, I want to kill him. However, if you give him that time, he'll make that color perfect. Sure as heck, this color needed some tweaking. So Scotty took a couple hours mixing up his potion, and after he finished, we all agreed we had it spot on. Well, the guys had the shop cleaned up, boat masked, and Scotty had his color. It was time to get gel coat on this boat. Scotty prepared each one of his quart containers of the mixed gel coat. He then activated one coat at a time as he went through his multiple coats. Knowing we had plenty of mill thickness to go through all our sanding and wet sanding stages, we still needed to know how much to sand as we worked through each one of our sanding grits. Well, remember the guide coat we used throughout our project during the fairing stages? We'd use the same guide coat with our gel coat. Gel coat is not like paint where you can reduce it down so you'll be able to spread out into the smooth surface. Now we're good, and we can get gel coat to be pretty smooth, but gel coat's still gonna have something that is known as an orange peel surface. The orange peel needs to be sanded down smooth so it completely disappears. The way we do that is with our guide coat. No different when we use our guide coat with the fairing compound, looking for our large leftover shaded in areas, which would mean our low spots. We're doing the opposite here with the gel coat. We are utilizing the guide coat to tell us when that orange peel is completely gone. Well, we do this through our first round of sanding, where we in fact do it dry. We don't want to start off wet sanding even though we're only removing the orange peel texture. Because if you did, the sandpaper would hydroplane and would take more effort to remove the orange peel. As soon as the men were done with their 320, they switched right over to 600 wet and proceeded to wet sand through their grits right up to 3,000. After they sanded through all the numbers and gave the surface a good wash down, they began the buffing and polishing stage, bringing out the beautiful glossy luster of the day it rolled out of the assembly line. Gel coat is a very different product than urethane paints. Gel coat is used in the production of not only boats, but most out-of-mold fiberglass parts. It is applied directly to the mold first. Then the fiberglass is laid up, so when you take the part out of the mold, the gel coat finish mimics the surface of the mold. So if that mold is perfect, beautiful, and glossy, when that fiberglass part comes out of the mold, the gel coat's outer surface is going to have the same perfect, beautiful, glossy finish. In our case, we are applying the gel coat to the outer surface. We have to produce the luster by going through the sanding and polishing stage. Now that we're done with this very important stage, it's time to move on what I keep promising in this episode, and that's some of the most amazing all-grip paint work you're going to see in the industry. And you can see that when we return after this break, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. And yes, it's time to get the Boston Whaler 420 Outrage in paint. We did this by getting the fiberglass shop completely cleaned and transformed into our spray booth. We moved everything outside the shop, well, except this friggin' monster, and washed every nook and cranny in the entire area. We changed out our filters, masked the top side of the vessel, as well as the bottom of the vessel. We masked the top side for obvious reasons, and made sure that the bottom was masked as well, for that we already prepped the surfaces of the bottom for the bottom system, and we didn't want to contaminate the surfaces with the overspray. We utilized a product called Ready Mask, which has anywhere from 36 to 48 inches of foldable plastic. However, the tape they use isn't the best. We sandwich masked the blue vinyl tape with our 3M 233 Plus. This line was our separation line between our gel-coated and painted surfaces. Scotty step masked 3 layers of tape. This is so we can utilize our blue vinyl tape line throughout our priming and painting stages. And yes, I said priming. We first had to prime our surfaces with All Grip's 545 epoxy primer. This will be our base product that we'll be laying the paint down on. After I applied 3 very wet coats of 545, the men came in the next day and began the final sanding of the surfaces before we could finally lay the paint down. The men carefully detailed sanded the surfaces with 320, utilizing folded up Scotch-Brite pads for our corners and edges. The guys had the boat covered, shop was spotless, and if I remember correctly, using Scotty's term, we were rolling into Memorial Day weekend. Scotty and I teamed up, as we have hundreds of times, maybe even might be pushing 1,000. I'd have to stop and really think about it. During our heyday, he and I painted 150 MJM motor yachts. They're built right here in Boston by our friends at Boston Boat Works. I go way back with Scott Smith and the late great designer and boat builder Mark Lindsay. Both these men became mentors of mine in the industry. Scott in the way he ran his business, and even more important, the influence that Mark Lindsay had on me with his methods and processes in which he built boats. He was a visionary. How they would build these boats in a small little shop in an old shipyard in East Boston was something to see. This was where Metan first got recognized for our paintwork. Boston Boat Works and MJM had an article written on them in Professional Boat Builder magazine. They mentioned in the article that Metan was painting the hulls of the MJMs. Well, that would lead to two of the most prestigious recognitions in Metan's existence. A few years later, Professional Boat Builder did 2 articles on Metan. One on our Seacraft restorations, another on our Boston Whaler restorations. Both articles to which to this day hang in the hallways of our offices. These articles brought attention to the amazing craftsmen of Metan, and one of those craftsmen is Scotty Van Boezelstein.
Welcome to the show.
Scotty's painting abilities are second to none in the industry. Almost 18 years ago, I taught him how to paint because I saw his early on abilities. And it was in fact on an MJM where I handed him a spray gun one night as we readied ourselves to lay down our first coat. That guy took the gun out of my hand, stepped in and started spraying, and the rest is history. His talents, his knowledge, his ability to make paint look better than it's supposed to makes him the best in the industry. Okay, I get it. Enough with the background. Let's get to the painting. Well, we're painting this hull in Allgrip's SE Robin Egg Blue Metallic. With metallic paints, the first few coats you put on are crucial. You need to make sure that the metallic is evenly spread out, so when you start to put the clear coat down, you have an even distribution of the metallic pattern. I pointed out when the men were prepping the surfaces of the hull that we noticed the boat had been painted twice before it even left the factory. So it seems as maybe they had an issue with the first application of paint. Scotty rolled in there and began his first coat of the metallic base coat. He did this in his own way, and that is distributing metallic in a fashion that is spreading out evenly. With such a large surface area, that is not an easy task to do. After 6 coats of both base metallic and a little bit of pearl, that's the Metan magic we threw in, he and I were happy with the consistently, evenly distributed metallic surface he had achieved. It was now time for the application of Allgrip's Allcraft 2000 Clear Coat, which is our final stage to this paint process, and we'll talk and see more about that when we return from this break on the completion of another major phase of the repair of our 420 Outrage. Welcome back, as we're literally knocking at the door of completing one of the most major phases of this project, leading to the last 2 phases, which is assembly and detailing for delivery. And we are all done. But before this could happen, we needed to get the clear coat on our base and really make this boat pop. And that's what Scotty and I did. We rolled in and applied 5 coats of clear. Some in the painting industry would say that's a little overkill. And I have to agree, because normally we only apply 3 or 4. However, this beautiful robin egg metallic, along with a little extra pearl, we knew a couple extra coats would give us even more of a product to work with. Although this boat looked beautiful after the last coat of clear, we still wet sanded, buffed, and polished our newly painted surfaces. Shortly after we were done painting the vessel, we had the vessel moved over into our assembly area. And finally, after months, the boat was out of our fiberglass shop. The men wet sanded the surfaces with a combination of 1,500 and 3,000 3M Trizact sandpaper. Wet sanding and polishing the surfaces ensures any imperfections that might have gotten into the clear-coated surfaces are eliminated. Yeah, your occasional bug or spegma, as us painters like to call it, we're able to remove those imperfections and make the surface truly flawless, truly Metan. Well, there you see it. The 2016 Boston Whaler 420 Outrage repairs are complete, and it's time to get this vessel back together and, more importantly, back to Texas. So join us next time on Making It Metan.